As we come on air, we are following a major breaking story in Minneapolis. Hours ago, the largest ICE immigration operation ever turned deadly after a federal agent shot and killed a woman inside her car. Thanks for joining us. I'm Julie Nelson.
And I'm Rena Sargentopoulos. Tonight, emotions are raw and tensions are running high, of course.
The Department of Homeland Security says the woman was trying to ram her car into ICE agents and that an agent shot in self-defense. But of course, it's still early and not everyone agrees.
This happened about 9:30 this morning at East 33rd Street and Portland Avenue. That's about a few blocks east of Powderhorn Park, and that's where our Gordon Severson joins us now live with the very latest from the scene as it's happening right now. Gordon?
Yeah, this is where that shooting happened here this morning, and you can see where this crowd has gathered throughout most of the day. That is where we saw a burgundy-colored SUV that was smashed into that light pole behind us. Now, in the windshield of that SUV, we saw a bullet hole on the driver's side, and this area was blocked off throughout the entire day, but police have now cleared the scene. This spot now is where we're starting to see a lot of flowers and other tributes that are coming in to honor the life of this woman who was shot and killed here today. City and federal officials both say that the shooting happened during a federal ICE operation. Federal officials, however, claim that the woman tried to use her vehicle to ram ICE agents. City leaders, however, argue, based on the video they're seeing, they say that is not what happened. This morning, we spoke with one neighbor who heard the shooting, and she was getting ready to go to the grocery store. She says she heard the gunshots.
As soon as I got to the end of the alley, I heard 2 gunshots and a car crash, a really hard car crash, and then I heard yelling. And the next thing you know, I got in my car, I came out here, and I came through here. It was nothing but ICE agents. And as I'm driving by, it was a red truck and nothing but the airbags and full of blood, and there was a body on the streets. It was a woman.
Now, the scene you're seeing right now is very different than the scene that was here throughout the day. This whole area was blocked off. There was a lot of federal cars here, a lot of police officers, investigators looking at that scene. The crowd was actually further back over towards 34th Street. There's a police perimeter over there. A lot of, anger was going on with protesters wanting ICE agents to leave the city. The demonstration you're seeing right now is a lot more quiet, a lot more somber, that they're paying tribute to the woman here who was killed at this street corner.
Yeah, an important thing to remember that someone, no matter how you feel about what happened today or what political side of the aisle you're on, a woman was shot and killed this morning, a 37-year-old woman. Thank you so much, Gordon. Our team coverage continues with Ian Russell, who has been on the scene all day. He joins us now with what he saw. Ian?
Yeah, well, Julie, dozens, if not over 100 people showed up to protest against those immigration officials and what happened this morning. And it was tense throughout the day as those crowds voiced their frustrations with law enforcement. And that anger and frustration weren't the only emotions that we saw and heard throughout the day. Many that we spoke to told me they were sad to see an incident like this in their neighborhood. And there was a lot of chanting centered around arresting the ICE agent seen in that video this morning, and chanting focused on their frustration with law enforcement. And one man who lives a few blocks away told me, well, he didn't actually see what happened. He did want to come out and make his voice heard.
I saw it on the news and just came right over. It's heartbreaking that a woman was murdered on our city streets by federal agents. Yeah, well, how people turn out, how can you not? You got to defend our country. They're destroying our country. They're making it a military state. They're making it an authoritarian state, and it's ridiculous.
And like I said, his sentiments were common amongst those that we spoke with. Just a tense, emotional, and frustrated day for people out there.
Yeah, I think emotions are running high, and I think there was a lot of feeling that something like this could happen because there was tension escalating between protesters and ICE agents in the previous months. Of course, important to reiterate, we really don't know what unfolded, and it's going to take a while to figure out exactly what happened. And we hope that people, if they want to protest, do so peacefully tonight. Thank you, Ian. Well, President Trump weighed in on the situation as well. On social media, the president said he's seen video of what happened, calling it a horrible thing to watch. The president said, quote, "The situation is being studied in its entirety, but the reason these incidents are happening is because the radical left is threatening, assaulting, and targeting our law enforcement officers and ICE agents on a daily basis."
Reaction, of course, also pouring in this afternoon from city and state leaders. Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey, very emotional, calling claims by the Department of Homeland Security that the shooting was in self-defense false. Well, Governor Walz and other state officials say public safety is now their first priority. Danny Spiewak has more on all of this from the newsroom. Danny?
Rena, state and local leaders in Minnesota have been clashing with the federal government since the start of President Trump's second term, especially on immigration policy. And after today's fatal shooting, Mayor Frey used some colorful language, to say the least, and told ICE agents to leave the city.
To ICE, get the out of Minneapolis. We do not want you here. Your stated reason for being in this city is to create some kind of safety, and you are doing exactly the opposite.
Governor Tim Walz took a slightly different tone than Mayor Frey, but he delivered a similar message. Walz blamed the Trump administration's surge in ICE agents for creating the conditions that led to the event today.
So preventable, so unnecessary, and I don't know, I hope, maybe we're at the McCarthy moment. Do you have no decency? Do you have no decency?
Governor Walz urged calm, but he says he has Minnesota National Guard troops basically on standby, making preparations if needed. Rena.
Danny, two quick questions for you. On standby, what does that mean? What is the actual current status of our National Guard here in Minnesota right now?
Basically, as it was described in the press conference with state officials, is that the National Guard troops they're not yet mobilized to be an executive order for that, but there's like equipment checks going on and preparations for positioning being made in the event that they would need to be mobilized.
And one more quick thing, Mayor Frey, as you showed us, was fairly emphatic about his request for ICE to leave the city. Have we had any response from ICE?
We're going to learn a lot about that, from ICE probably this evening when we hear more from them, hopefully. I can say that based on Secretary Noem's response, DHS, Homeland Security, has said they believe already that this was a justified incident. And so I don't imagine that they would pull ICE out, but we'd have to just learn more from them when they respond.
All right, Danny, thank you so much. All right, let's head over to Morgan Wolf at the live desk now.
Rena, we are anticipating a press conference from Secretary Noem in about an hour. We did hear from her earlier this afternoon as she says that ICE agents faced an attack of domestic terrorism.
It was an act of domestic terrorism. What happened, it was our ICE officers were out in an enforcement action. They got stuck in the snow because of the adverse weather that is in Minneapolis. They were attempting to push out their vehicle, and a woman attacked them and those surrounding them and attempted to run them over and ram them with her vehicle. An officer of ours acted quickly and defensively shot to protect himself and the people around him. And my understanding is that she was hit and is deceased.
Just yesterday, Secretary Noem was in Minnesota saying DHS arrested 150 people just on Monday and 1,000 in total with their enforcement. Right now, we're in the midst of that surge in federal agents in the area, which includes not only ICE, but also U.S. Customs and Border Patrol. This is in response to allegations of daycare fraud following a viral video. We are waiting to hear more from Secretary Noem, and we will take that press conference live. It is scheduled for 5 o'clock.
All right, we'll wait to hear more then. All right, thank you, Morgan. Appreciate it.